Hello, welcome to Shelby Radio. I am Shelby Carino, and this is episode number 688. And today we are going to talk about navigating the post eclipse energies because I can guarantee you that there are some physical symptoms you may have encountered or you're now experiencing from this eclipse, or maybe you're having some emotional reactions that all of a sudden are popping up and you're like, where is that coming from? Okay. And then, honestly, after every eclipse, let's just be honest, we all feel a little off after an eclipse because we have to go back in and balance what is eclipsing out of our life as we make way for what the new energy is that is coming into our life. So stick around on this episode because I'm telling you, it's going to be juicy. I have some personal things I'm going to share with you that has happened in my world um with these post eclipse energies, and even though sometimes it's really aggravating and frustrating, at the same time it's liberating because you're like, "Oh my gosh, I have finally reached this level of clearing or eclipsing." And so that next level is going to be miraculous and great because of all, honestly, the shit that you're bringing up and moving through, right? So let's get started, okay? Welcome in to the episode. If you are listening to me on your favorite podcast platform, thank you so much. Please rate and review the podcast. That always helps people who are searching for a podcast like this. And then if you're watching me on YouTube, hello. Yet again, I am back on camera. That's a good sign. I'm ready to be seen and I am staying in that flow. So, welcome in and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you will get the podcast updates. All right. But let's just do a little recap. Okay. The total lunar eclipse, which was March 14th, and today is what? The 18th. Okay. We just had St. Patrick's Day yesterday. So Friday was the eclipse, and now here we are at Tuesday. So the total lunar eclipse in Virgo really stirred up some major energetic shifts. And if you're feeling off, then trust me, you're not alone because many people are experiencing physical symptoms, emotional releases, and a deep need for some type of clarity and movement. So in today's episode, that's what we're doing is we're talking about why you might be feeling drained or restless or emotional or even physically unwell, and how to navigate the post eclipse symptoms. So, I felt strongly that in my body and in my emotions and in my daily life that it was important to share what I've been going through because my psychic energy was disrupted, my sleep patterns were changing, and then I felt an urge to really close off loops and refocus on myself. So, today we're going to dive into what all of this means. I'm going to share with you personally, yet again, what I just mentioned about how it's affected my life. So, maybe that story can help balance something that's going on in your life right now. So, why is this eclipse that we just had? Why why is it affecting us physically? And why is it affecting us emotionally? And I want to start out by saying that you may have been living your life over the last several months, last several years, where you have felt, I guess the easiest way is to say maybe in control of your body, or maybe you haven't fallen ill, or maybe you have. It just depends on where you are on your spectrum. But then maybe you haven't felt a lot of surges of emotions. But then on the other side, maybe you have felt completely emotionally off. It just depends on where you're at in your loops, where you're at in your ascension. However, collectively, no matter what side of the scale you're on in this exact moment in time, lunar eclipses act as that reset button. And that reset button brings up anything hidden in your emotions, which is also the energy, because energy is just, or emotion is just energy in motion. So it's going to bring up those hidden emotions. It's going to allow the opportunity to clear out old energy. Okay. And it's going to force you, believe it or not, into a realignment, because you're going to get thrown off balance for a minute, right? That wave of energy hits you in that eclipse. And even if you were working up front for the eclipse, like to clear as much as you could, well, once this eclipse energy is moving through, that's where the resetting is happening. That's where the off balance is happening. That's where the body takes a hit, because that energy like collapsed on itself within you. And then all of a sudden, physically, you have a reaction, emotionally, you have a reaction, maybe both. And then it forces you to go, okay, wait a second, what's off? Where was I and where am I now? And then what was the work that I did leading up to the eclipse versus the work I'm doing now after the eclipse? So there's a lot of self-awareness that comes into play when we're moving through these dramatic astrological events such as eclipses. Now, let's remember that the Virgo energy, because again, this was the lunar eclipse in Virgo. So the Virgo energy is the sign that deals with our health. It's the sign that deals with routine. It's the sign that also can affect our nervous system. And that's why this particular eclipse may really be taking a toll on your body, because that's the health. Okay, that's the routine. What have you been doing with your body? Okay, so you're finally going to feel that in your body, which is great, because if you're a light worker like I am, a sensitive like I am, that empath, the one who usually floats out of your body a lot, okay, and you're up here everywhere instead of like your energy being in the body all the time. Well, this eclipse has helped people like ourselves kind of shimmy back into our body, because really that's where our manifestation happens, because then we can physically pull in what it is that we want or we need, or what that next level of our evolvement is, okay? And I can tell you, just personally, I have felt more in my body during this eclipse than I probably have in years. Okay. To the point where I've even been telling people, like, no, I'm really way more in my body right now. And it's nice because I feel more stable. I feel like I'm not just constantly doing spiritual clearing. Like now I'm at, oh, wow, okay, things are manifesting now in the physical. Thank you, Jesus. I'm finally living on the planet. Okay. Um, I was just at Pilates 2 days ago, because I do Pilates. Freaking love Pilates. Okay, it's changed my life. And we had our feet in straps. If you know Pilates, you know that is such a miraculous words of being put together when they say feet in straps, because you're like, Oh gosh. Okay. And you get to stretch and just, anyway, it's like, oh my God, it's like it's heaven. Well, anyway, I was doing Pilates a couple days ago and we were going into feet and straps. And as my legs were like vertical, okay, and we were doing our circles and it's just a nice stretch and how you pull your body down and oh my God, it's just so nice. And as I was doing that exercise, the more I had my legs vertical and then vertically straight, coming out to the side a little bit, and then down and around, kind of to a point. And I'm laying on my back, obviously on the reformer. And as I'm just doing that circular motion that's just really stretching my legs and my spine, well, my energy was also stretching. And when that was happening, I literally could see the energy in my body and in my mind, in my pictures, when I saw where my energy was all in my body, minus the very tippy top of my big toe. Okay. Like I only had like a quarter of an inch to put my energy all back into my body. I've never seen that before, ever in myself. Okay. And in that moment in Pilates, I saw it. And that was my validation to myself that, oh, wow, I am literally in my body energetically. And I only have a quarter of an inch to basically get all the way grounded into my body. So the next question I had in my head was, well, I wonder what I'm missing. If I'm not 100% energetically in my body, that means I'm missing something. What am I missing? And then, sure enough, yesterday, it showed up what was missing. And I was like, oh, this is what's missing. And I'm going to tell you that in a second. Okay. So, pattern interrupt, pause the story, because now I have to go on to this. But I'm going to circle back and tell you what it is. Okay. So, the effects of the eclipse, they don't just happen while the eclipse is happening. Okay. So people think like sometimes, oh, the eclipse is this day and oh, everything just happened on that day. It's like, no, it happens before, it happens the day of. And then, of course, obviously the energy's still moving. So it happens for several weeks. It lingers after the eclipse because now it's about the processing of the energy, the adjustment to that energy now in your life. Okay. So let's go into the physical symptoms right now and what they mean. I know for me that leading up to the eclipse and a couple of days after the eclipse, I was really feeling hot in my body. And I'm not talking like, where women are like, oh, it's menopause. It's a menopause like sweat. Like, no, it was an internal heat. And I was like, this is not like just being a female and having my hormones. Okay. Like we can all blame it on that. But let's get honest. We're all moving into 5D and these are ascension symptoms. Okay. We're going to get hot and it doesn't necessarily mean you're in menopause. Okay. I'm not saying you're not in menopause or premenopause, perimenopause, whatever it is. You might just be freaking hot. Okay. So I was really feeling hot inside, internal heat. Okay. That means that your body is recalibrating itself. And I knew that somewhere. I was like, okay, my body's recalibrating. My system is burning through basically the old energy. It's eclipsing out the old energy. So there's some heat to that. So it's kind of like if you're cooking on your stove a meal, well, you got to turn up the heat in order to cook out all of the toxins and whatnot, or, get it to preparation. So it's the same thing in our energy. Sometimes we burn up our energy in order to release it. Okay. So that helps us, make space for the new alignment, the new energies. And I know because I felt that so deep in my body that I needed to move. Okay. And I did like 6 Pilates classes that week. Okay. Because I needed to move. I needed to clear out that stagnant energy and I needed to reset myself. Okay. I have a friend of mine who shared with me, she also felt really hot internally as well. And one night she just took a cold bath, just to cool down. Because leading up to that eclipse, it was a lot. All right. I've had other clients tell me that some of the physical symptoms have been sinus related, or they've been having these mild type headaches, not necessarily full on migraines, but just kind of like an achiness in their forehead or crown. And that makes sense because that's like a psychic clearing. Your third eye, your sixth chakra is right there. And as we're moving into these higher frequencies, we're opening up our pineal gland. We're opening up that psychic energy in our body. So there's these psychic clearings that happen because, again, that's your third eye. It's processing very deep rooted subconscious information. So you can, make room for new information. So if your body is physically detoxing certain stored emotions or stagnant energy, then great. You are on the path to a brand new alignment of yourself. And that's what this is about. So, with all of that being said, I know that when people begin clearing their sinuses or they have headaches, they link it to allergies. Now, I live in Texas, and anybody that, has sinus issues is going to tell you, it's my allergies, it's my allergies. And I'm not saying it's not your allergies, okay? But I also understand that it's also energy clearing. So if you are having sinus issues and you can't differentiate if it's sinus or if you're just energetically clearing, what story do you want to sell yourself? Because I know me, I have no intention of ever having allergies, right? So because I do so much energy clearing in my third eye, my crown chakra, then there's not like a lot of sinus activity that happens because I'm constantly clearing. Okay. So linguistics which is the words that you use, are important in your subconscious mind. So if you maybe, even if you're experiencing, oh, I have allergies, well, maybe if you even linguistically change the word and say, oh, I'm processing and clearing my third eye, okay, well, maybe you'll begin feeling different, okay, and not buying into that you have allergies, but you begin buying into, oh, I'm clearing my third eye, which is exactly where your sinuses are, right? So that's a whole other podcast episode, but I just kind of wanted to put that in there and get you thinking about that. I've also had, I would say, probably about a couple weeks worth of disrupted sleep. Okay. Like, I mean, I've had that internal heat that makes me uncomfortable when I'm sleeping, but then I fall into the dream world and I'm very lucid. So I've had some really vivid dreams. Because again, the eclipse energy is shaking up the psychic energy in you. So that's why you may feel restless. It's why you wake up at odd hours. Oh my gosh, I was waking up at 2:22 a.m. Like I would be fast asleep and then all of a sudden like I'm awake and I'm looking and it's like 222. So, of course, I look up the angel number of 222. And then I go on about my day, or a couple of days later, and now all of a sudden I'm seeing 222, 222, 222, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." My higher self is letting me know, this is where I'm at in my energy through that number pattern. And why I've had some very vivid dreams of closing things off. Like, it was really interesting because I was married at the age of 26. And I had a dream, and I don't even know how to describe it. It was weird. It was like I had this really vivid dream of that ex-husband's face, because I ran a lot of my, what I would call, my twin flame energy through him, because he was the first guy that I like gave my energy to. And so I had this vivid dream where I saw his face in different timelines of past lives that I had known him. Not necessarily being with him, but just where I had known him. And when I saw his face, it was like a mesh screen, or I don't even know how to describe it. It was like this mesh material went over his face, and then it flipped and it became a new face. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, my unconscious part is literally removing that face and making it a new face and neutralizing the energy, where my energy is no longer connected into that." I don't even know how to describe it. It was so weird. But what I know is when I woke up, I was completely different. It was like he never existed in my life, energetically. And I was like, did I literally just reframe my entire history of him in the face, where I transmuted it into new faces, which gave me all of my energy back that I shared when I first met him, that gave me, where I got quote unquote mono, which basically I had a huge energy surge because I had exchanged so much with him back then. So then it was like I was redoing all that. It was so odd. And it was psychic. It was a psychic picture that changed into my body. I'm telling you, it was weird. So, but it was like he never existed after that, because energetically, like I said, in my body, it was different. So that's just one example of something that this eclipse did for me. Okay. That I wasn't even planning on. All right. But yeah, my sleep was completely thrown off. Was yours? I laugh, going, I probably know that answer. Yeah, definitely waking up in the middle of the night. I was really feeling highly alerted to things, or basically feeling like I was activated in my body. So I was very, very sensitive to just the room. Okay. Like one night, mid morning, I woke up because we always sleep with our bedroom door closed. And I woke up and I told Joe, I was like, I've got to like crack our door open. And I even cracked the window open because I was like, there's so much energy in this room right now. Like, I have to have this flow, because I was so aware of so much stuff. I needed like space, right? I couldn't be confined. I was like, oh my God, I need air. I need air. I need the door open. I need flow, right? Um, but yeah, I also had some unexplained anxiety, or like an underlying irritability that I didn't know where it was coming from. I just knew that my nervous system was like really wanting to move through releasing tension in my body, which is why I was doing Pilates every day, 6 out of the 7 days, because I knew whatever I was releasing probably had been buried and I wasn't ready to release it until now. And so that kind of brought up some unresolved emotions that began to move me towards what I wanted. So I noticed how I needed space in order to recalibrate kind of what was going on in my body. And Reese agrees. She's barking. And that's normal. So I was creating in my daily life, my schedule, I was creating space, okay, to to do Pilates and have small increment moments to be with myself only and not be in the energy with Joe, but to be in my own space to go, okay, this is where I'm at, this is what's happening, and this is what I'm moving through. All right. So how this affected me on an emotional level and kind of how I figured out what that meant to me was I knew I needed to close loops in my journey, okay? Because I knew I was getting to some clarity. And eclipses bring a very strong urge to finish unfinished business. Does that make sense? Like if you feel like something's not done, that eclipse is going to do whatever it can to make you figure out what's not done and finish it. So, here's an example of how it showed up for Joe and I last week. Is the week 2 weeks ago was my birthday week. And that was all about travel and getting away and getting off grid and just being in silence, okay? Well, when we were fully back in the second week, which was last week, then I felt this intense urge or push that Joe and I had to get his mother's house done. Like we knew we were a week away from getting it listed and getting it put on the market, okay? But it was like this final push where the plumber came in to fix something with the shower head in one of the bathrooms. The electrician showed up because he was putting in new light plates because the way her light switches were weird. And we were like, Joe was like, no, it just needs to turn on and off and not be all these dimmers and this and that and whatever, right? So the electrician came in, balanced all that. Joe changed out all the light bulbs in the house, and instead of having them be that yellow light, it was the bright light, bright white light, which totally changed the house. And then we had a cleaning crew come in and deep clean the entire house, blinds, windows, all of it. And then we had a carpet cleaning company come in and really deep clean the carpets. And then also, Joe cleaned out a storage unit that was in the backyard that had like pesticides and all this stuff in there that, needed to get out. Then we were done. And we literally finished on the Thursday before the eclipse, right? Then we finished one day early before the eclipse. And I knew we needed to finish. So I kept telling Joe, the eclipse is coming. The eclipse is coming. We got to get this done. Like we're closing this out. We're closing this loop because we wanted our energy out of the house and we wanted to hand it to the realtor listing the house for sale. Meaning like we're done, we're out. And while we were doing all of that, we had to keep his mother at a distance. So she's no longer in the house. She lives in an assisted living facility, nursing facility, whatever. And we just, we didn't talk to her the week we were gone. And we didn't talk to her the week we got back until that Sunday. And everything had to be kept at a distance because we had to focus on her house and make sure nothing was missing, make sure we were on schedule and not getting thrown off by her or her emotions or her circumstance or whatever. It was like, we need to focus. And that's what we did. And so we cleaned up all that old energy, we moved forward, and then 48 hours later, the house, we cleaned up, we finished on a Thursday. The photographer came on that Friday morning to take pictures of the house, and the house went live to list it for sale that Friday evening. Okay. So it was like boom, 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 boom. And Joe and I just felt this huge release. We just felt like, oh my God, finally, we can get our life back, because we're not dealing with her stuff, her estate, it's dealt with. Now it's moving into the hands of third parties to make the other things happen. So the eclipse can do that, meaning it can make you want to pull back from people or set different types of boundaries because you're being more protective in your energy. And that's also normal. So, because I made a clear decision, and then Joe obviously made a clear decision to keep his mother, my mother in law, at a distance so we could focus on what our clarity was, what I needed to do next, then we were taking care of ourselves. Okay. Because I was being pushed within myself and feeling a push to really focus on myself when the eclipse was finished. So I even said to Joe, I said, this is the last week, like we went on vacation for a week, reset ourselves, got some clarity. And then we came back and we did this final push with his mother and her estate and her belongings and her business and all of that. And I was like, once we're done with this, we're done. Because then it's about us. It's about me. It's about you. It's about us and our businesses, what we're doing together. We're no longer going to linger in your mother's, situation. She's fine. Everything's good. We've got to get back to us because we're the ones out here still living and having to produce, things. So it was a push for me to tell my body, to tell my intuition to stop putting myself last. Because as a light worker, especially when you're dealing with a loved one and someone who's fallen ill and they're kind of at their end stages of life and that spiritual energy is pulling you and you're very sensitive, you can forget about yourself. You forget about, oh, I have a life because you're so drawn into what that spiritual energy is doing and that person and then what's going through them and then all of these things. So my body and intuition began telling me, no, you're no longer going to put yourself last. Finish what you need to finish over here. But over here after this eclipse, you're going into Shelby world. Okay. So I was noticing I was having an increase in my heart energy. I was feeling a push to like focus on my health, my wellness, my personal path. And I'm so glad that I did. All right. Um, and now I can circle back to the story that I wanted to share with you. So, because all of this was coming in, okay, Joe and I, the last year and several months of our life, the main energy in our world has been his mother. Because everything in our world, energetically, has revolved around what his mother has been shedding from her energy system as she's approaching the end stages of life. And as all of her energy has been shedding, then it has affected Joe because that's his mother, which then in turn affects me because I'm his wife. And then it affects us because obviously we're married and in this together, and we're running two different generational patterns of death. So as his mother's approaching the end, my dad has already died. We're balancing this masculine feminine energy, right? So all of me processing his mother's stuff through that's appropriate for Joe, because if it's his mom's stuff and it's not linked to Joe or Joe isn't attached to that, then I'm not processing that. I'm only processing what's attached to Joe. Okay, that Joe is in rapport with, and then obviously it moves through me because somewhere I'm in rapport with it as well. And a lot of that probably comes from my dad's side of the family. So I'm getting this clearing as well. And so we did this big final push to finish his mother's house, get it up for sale. Then the eclipse happened. And then 24 hours later, a day later, Joe and myself and two of our friends who know his mother rebounded to where she lives now in this facility, and we all went to see her. And it had been exactly 2 weeks since we had seen her, which is fine. Like, because we didn't see her every week anyway, even when she lived in a house. You know what I mean? So there was a 2 week separation. So we go and we see her. And I was learning, like, there's nothing there. Like there's no connection, there's no energy. Um there's no, like, she's really coming into herself, if that makes sense. So she's really been not herself. Like, there's been a lot of other, what I call, entities that have dropped through her, and then every now and again you see her in there. Well, when we visited her the other day, I even said to her, I said, "Oh, wow." I said, "You actually look like yourself. You actually seem more like you." And she said, "Yes." She said, I'm feeling that." And I said, "Okay, so you're coming more back into your body, into your mind, into who you are." And she was like, "Yes, it's, yeah, I'm kind of noticing that." And so I noticed with Joe, there was just a couple of little items that needed to be cleaned up, that needed to be handled, and we did that while we were visiting her. But I was noticing that the separation energetically of Joe and his mother was very much there. Like, wow, he really has almost nothing left in this exchange with his mother. His Which means that the umbilical cord is really being cut energetically, emotionally, that never was cut before, which is why he was always getting pulled back in to her. Well, I noticed that, but I knew it wasn't done yet. I was like, we're not done yet. I feel like we're a week away from it being totally disconnected, where his mom is sitting in her own emotional space and Joe is sitting in his own emotional space. I was like, no, I think there's maybe about a week away from that happening, so they can be free of each other, right? It's a divorce in the energies. And really, it should have happened a long time ago, but his mother never cut the emotional aqua cord. And now Joe, through me, we're having to do that. So, and that's a whole other podcast episode, what the aqua cords are. But I will say that as soon as I found out, oh yeah, there's still just a little bit left. Well, I wake up yesterday, which was Monday. Okay, we saw her on Sunday, and then I wake up on Monday, and I have this surge of energy. I come into my office, and it's clear as a bell that, I'm ready to market my spiritual school curriculum through Facebook ads, because I'm doing a loop in how I've done things before. So, and I haven't done it yet because I'm like, nah, people aren't ready to see this yet, or I'm not ready yet. Like, I was kind of running that. So I wake up yesterday and I'm like, okay, I'm there. I'm ready to start creating ads and getting this moving next week. And it was in my heart chakra, it was in my body, everything was congruent. So I kind of run that energy through. I do some research on some stuff of what I want to do with that. And I'm like, okay, that's going to be next week. I'm going to work on that next week. Right. And I felt really happy. I was like, woo, Shelby's back. I'm in my business and this is going to happen. I'm ready for people to really come in droves with my curriculum. I'm ready to pull all of this in. Well, then Joe gets up. And um you know, he's sitting on the couch, and then at some point I go into the bathroom, I'm getting dressed, and he walks in there, and he says, "I want you to read this text message." Well, he's on this group family text, right? The whole entire family has put him into this text, right? And it was supposed to be about, updates on his mom and all this, right? Well, one of the sisters is like, "Oh, family is so important." And I know, and she goes through every single person in the family, like, "Okay, I know this person is doing this, and now they're back from this, and this person's doing that. And, this is what me and my husband are doing." And we're like, it's like this play by play of everybody's life, right? And then she says about Joe, she says, "Well, per the last conversation I had," and he says his mom's name, Joe was still MIA. And I'm reading through this, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Missing in action? Like, at least two of the sisters knew we were going out of town, and we were trying to get our house up for sale and clear everything out. But I said to Joe, I went, "Ooh," I said, "that's nasty." I said, "That is your mother running her scapegoat of you through that sister, and now she put it on the family text for a trigger, to trigger you, because I got triggered." And because it was never like, "Oh, well, I finally talked to," and said, Joe's mother's name. Like, she could have said, "Oh, I talked to so and so, and you know, Joe is back from his trip, and has been getting the house together, up for sale." No, no, she had to use the words, um, "Joe is MIA. Joe is no longer MIA." And I know that came from his own mother to this sibling. And then it spawned one of the nieces or something saying, "Oh, well, this is what I've done for my mother, blah 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 blah, and I do this for my mother because my mother's always been there for me." And literally all of this energy is coming forward, and I'm like, these people are ridiculous. Like, this is ridiculous. Your mom's the scapegoat. She makes you the scapegoat. And now that's where she's running it through so she can feel important to her siblings. And again, throw you under the bus like you've abandoned her, which is totally not what has happened. But that's the way she always makes it seem that Joe does to her. So it fired me up. It fired him up. And we're just like, we are so ready to be done with this family, right? Like, they're just all emotionally broken. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit with this for a minute. So I said to him, we just got to look at what the trigger is, and we got to fix the trigger. And then I was remembering a session that Joe and his mother had with our mentor. And she kept repeating the words to his mother. "Well, you're the scapegoat of the family. You came in to be the scapegoat. And because you're the scapegoat, well, now you've made your son a scapegoat. Because when you're gone, they're going to look for another scapegoat." And I remember this session of Joe telling me all this stuff that happened in that session. So I said to Joe, I went, "Oh." I said, "Where you're at is you're at now clearing the scapegoat." Because I told him, I said, if you look back at that session that happened so many months ago, our mentor installed every single thing that we've actually been doing, that we've been clearing, that we've been moving through. Whether it was the illness of his mother, the cleaning out the house, like whatever it was, because our mentor is so good about programming to make sure you don't miss anything, so you clear the energies out. And when I went back and looked at all the energy of that session and remembered what he was telling me, I saw these boxes and I saw all these check marks, and I'm like, wow, we've done that, check that off. We've done that, check that off. We did this, check that off. And then it hit me and I went, oh, we're at the beginning of the end, which is clearing the scapegoat. Because that's been your mother's whole life. It's been your whole life with your mother and that family, that side of the family. Because it's not on his dad's side of the family, it's on his mother's side of the family. So I'm like, Holy Mother of Mary, we are finally at the core of your family dynamic. Scapegoat. And then it hit me and I went, oh my God, we have never cleared that. Meaning I've never written on it to clear it. Well, what is the parallel mirror in my side of the family? Well, I was the scapegoat of my family. And my mother was the scapegoat of her family. And I'm like, oh my God, we're finally at the generational pattern of scapegoat ready to clear. So I got a statement about what I needed to write in order to clear the scapegoat. So my process in my book, The Art of Process, I talk about the 70 times 7. If you don't know what that is, go to my website, shelbycarino.com, click on books, look at my Art of Process book, buy it. You'll see the exercise. And anytime something comes up, I do the 70 times 7 exercise. It is the only exercise that will cover the subconscious mind, the physical body, and the energy body, clearing it through your 7 chakras and releasing it 8 through 12 in the higher energies. I always do this process. And so I said to Joe, I went, oh my gosh. I said, I have to do my 70 times 7 on the scapegoat. I said, that's what's missing. That is that quarter of an inch of why I am not fully in my body yet. When I saw where my energy was at that Pilates class that I did, I was like, this is it. This is the big doozy. We're clearing scapegoat. And he was like, wow. And I stopped yesterday for a minute when I had the revelation, and I made sure, like, okay, I'm going to begin this assignment. So I did, I wrote it down what I needed to do, and then I tabled it. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to table it. It's in my body. I'm going to go to Pilates, and then I'm going to come back and actually do the assignment. And when I did that, I felt so much better because I felt like I was in control, right? I felt like I was in control of my emotions. I felt like I was in control of what Joe had just brought to me, that the family was spinning out and that Joe can never get free from. Like, I felt like finally I got it and I saw it and I put it into motion and I got control of it to where it was no longer in their control, meaning his mother could no longer throw us off because now it made sense what it was, and that we were ready to no longer, he or I, be the scapegoat. Because one of the things that I've always said to him, anytime we go to see his mom, she will send a thank you card, a birthday card to anybody, right? And she makes sure she has to do it. But Joe and I have done the most amount of work for this woman. Okay. We have honored her soul, nurtured her, cleaned up her whole entire life, respected her. We have done all the things, right? We have done all of the honor thy mother parts. Okay. Not once does she come back and acknowledge it, say thank you for it, have profuse gratitude towards it. Okay. She doesn't. Never, ever. But people that do one little small thing for her, oh, I need to thank them. And I said to Joe, I said, I noticed this, and it's not because I need a thank you, or even he needs to thank you. We just notice that it never happens. And so I was like, oh, when I clued in on the scapegoat, I was like, oh, well, she can't thank us, because if she were to thank us, we no longer would be her scapegoats. We would no longer be what she could blame. It's very abusive is my point, okay? And I even told him that the other night. I said, "I am very clear we don't need the thank you. I'm trying to figure out just why it doesn't happen. That it's her instead of us." And then I realized it. And then I was like, "Oh, well then so then when the scapegoat energy came in, I went, "Oh, well we definitely need to clear the scapegoat." Cuz then neither one of us will be in rapport with her scapegoat anymore. And then maybe she will shift and see us differently because we're no longer her. And now maybe she'll see us the way she sees everybody else. I don't know. And do I really care? No, but I'm very, very curious. All right. I'm very curious. Like, I wonder what that will do to the dynamic. Let me going on this assignment for the next 7 to 8 days. Okay. And that's what, threw me into the assignment because it all made sense. It all made sense why when I woke up Monday morning, I had this surge of energy to really get my curriculum back out there, do the Facebook ads because I had really good success with that the last time. So I was ready to do that and I knew I was a week away from doing it. It was clear as a bell. And then Joe got that message from the family in a group text and then that flung everything off and then I'm like, "Whoops, okay, wait a minute. We're half balancing." And then when I grabbed a hold of what it was, I had the tool, which is my art of process 70 times 7. And I could take control of the energy. I could take control of the situation because I was in rapport with it. Then I started moving that into action. And now it changed my heart chakra. It changed my unconscious parts to go, "Oh no, I'm in control. Not these people over here. I'm the one in control. They're going to be who they are. I'm the one moving this forward." And then because it shifted in me and Joe follows me now in a whole other dynamic, it shifted him. As he's continuing to get that aqua cord or that umbilical cord cut from his mother emotionally that kept him in with her to be a scapegoat. It's severing a connection at all levels. Okay. And again, that should have happened back when he was in his 20s, but it didn't. So, but it took 2 weeks for us to do ourselves, step back, create a boundary, and not get constantly pulled in. Because when people are in the spirit world, like they have dementia or they've had strokes, they're not in their mind, their energy's floating around. It is so easy for them to constantly pull you back in, manipulate you, play you like a puppet, because those generational curses are in there. And I told Joe, no, we need to step back. I can't be pulled into this. I need to see what's going on. I need to look at the chessboard. And that's what we did. And that second week we didn't talk to her. Well, her higher self clearly didn't like it. And so what did she do? She threw Joe under the bus to the family, acted as if he was MIA when people knew what we were doing. Okay. And we had a right to do it because it's not like she's hearing from everybody every day from everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. We don't have to run y'all's family pattern of what you're doing. Like, no. So I had to get perspective. Okay. I had to say, nope, no more. Let's see where we're at. Okay. So, how did I move through alleviating some of this post eclipse energy? Well, I had to move the energy through my body, which is all of the Pilates, okay? Because I was restless. I was feeling anxious. I knew something was bubbling. And my body was asking for the movement. So I gave it movement. All right. Um, if you're in that position, maybe you can just take a walk outside because we're kind of moving into spring. It's nice. Do some yoga, do some Pilates, just stand in front of your TV and stretch. Do something, just move the body. A lot of what I do is I shake out my hands or my legs. So like when I'm driving, I know I'm throwing energy off and there's times where, my hands are on the steering wheel and then all of a sudden you'll just see me, shake my hand like that and just like and I'm shaking the energy off or I'm like, moving my head around. Okay? Because you're just releasing the energy that is stuck. That's all you're doing. You're just shaking it off. Okay? It's very important. Do some breath work. All right? Um, After we went and saw his mom on Sunday, me, Joe, and our two friends, we went and had dinner because it was late. Well, I knew the energy was moving, and when we left the restaurant, I need to get gas in my car because we took my car. So I told Joe, I was driving. So I told Joe, I said, hey, I'm going to stop at this gas station right here. I'm going to go in and use the bathroom. And he was like, okay, I'll fill up. But I had so much heart energy moving that I was feeling like panicky. And the way I reset is I'm like, I just got to go to the bathroom. I don't care if I'm peeing or pooping. Like, I just got to go to the bathroom because it's like because the bathroom is about releasing, right? Like you're excreting things out of your body. So I've created a pattern in me that when I'm processing something, when I have to go to the bathroom, then my energy knows I'm releasing. And I literally do breath work while I'm in the bathroom. And I'm like, and I'm breathing and I let my body relax and just let it do what it's got to do. And then I reset myself and then, I'm good. So it's like that moment of just peace where I'm like, okay. And I had to do that just so we could get to the rest of the house. Cause I wasn't just letting go of stuff with me. I was also feeling what Joe was letting go of. Okay. So it was like a double like whammy of anxiety. Okay. So now let's discuss real quickly if you're experiencing the clearing in the psychic, remember which was your sinuses, um, that third eye energy, okay, all of that. What you can do to help balance that is you can meditate. You could put amethyst on your third eye or a clear quartz. Drink more water just to help things purge through, like herbal teas is also good. I do that sometimes. I always take an Epsom salt bath at night. I do not go to bed without an Epsom salt bath. Even if we're traveling and I only have access to a shower, I will throw some Epsom salt on the shower floor. Okay. Or sage your space. Okay. That's another option to clear excess energy. And that's a story I need to tell you for later about what happened where I went into this deep saging thing. What day was that I did that? When did I sage? I think that was on a Thursday. Yeah, I think that was the night before the eclipse. So maybe I'll talk about that next week. I was going to do it in this episode, but I'm already almost at an hour. um okay, so grounding and rebalancing your nervous system. Your body and your emotions always need some kind of stability, right? They need a routine. They need an energetic shift. So stick to some kind of routine, even if it's in the morning where for 5 minutes you walk around your neighborhood, you get on a treadmill, you journal, you do something, put a routine in there, eat foods that help you feel like you're balancing more, that whatever it is that helps you ground whatever you've created in your life, stick to that. Maybe not look at your cell phone as much because sometimes that could overstimulate everything that's going on in your nervous system. And then also close the loops, right? And direct where your energy is going to go. So if you are still feeling called to wrap things up, well, then you need to wrap them up. So that's why I told Joe, okay, my birthday is the first week of March. It's March 4th. So that's why I said, no, we're going off grid, traveling, leaving for a week. Like that's my birthday week. I'm going to have my birthday. And then when we came back, then that's when all the energy came that we needed to finish his mother's house. And that was what we were called to do and we got it done. And the outcome to those 2 weeks were I'm ready to now really go out in a bigger way and market my spiritual school curriculum. That was my outcome. What showed up in our marriage that still needed to be addressed was no longer being a scapegoat. So I knew what that meant for Joe, but then on the side of me was, oh, I need a clear scapegoat, not just from me being the scapegoat in my family, but also no longer being the scapegoat in my business. So when people go through my curriculum, if I'm no longer running scapegoat energy, well, then guess what? I'm safer as a business owner, as a teacher to the curriculum, because I will no longer have an energy where somebody may come into my curriculum and then be upset that they took a course and now something happened in their life and they're looking for a scapegoat to blame what happened to them, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, because people just like to lash out emotionally. And I'm a Pisces, I do emotion, and I've already done that in a tribe where people were lashing out at me emotionally. And I was like, whoa. So I was like, nope. And now I know why. Because people are always looking for a scapegoat, especially when they're spiritually waking up. And so, even in my protection, and thank God for my mentor, okay, pacing us, I'm like, wow, I'm going to be able to clear scapegoat before I ever go out in the big way that I want to go out with my curriculum and be seen in a whole other light, because, wow, I need to clear scapegoat. So I pull in people that I don't know through market ads that are ready to be accountable to self. Not too much to ask, is it? But boy, when we run these family patterns and family curses, whew, we make up for it somewhere to learn the lesson. Thank God I'm catching it prior to me going out into the marketplace again. Okay. And this whole other way. So that's closing a loop. Okay. Um, and by me closing the loop, then I was able to map out my next business move, right? Which is, okay, I'm ready to market, do ads. And then it was also getting my mother-in-law's house up on the market and closing that section of her life out. And that helps her, it helps us, it helps everybody involved. And then everything that comes from that energy, I'm directing that into my curriculum sales. Okay? But I've been working on this for weeks, months, years, honestly. Okay? It's just now I'm really way more aware of my processes, okay? So, identify one big loop right now in your life that you feel is unfinished, or it could be a conversation that you need to have or a project you need to get done. And then take a step today toward completing it. So like for me, my unfinished business in my business clearly came through as, oh, I need to clear scapegoat energy. So my step towards completing that loop was doing the assignment, my 70 times 7. Okay. For my outcome, which is to run ads on Facebook and draw in sales from Facebook differently. Okay. So, what is it for you? And visualize where you want that energy to go next. Because remember, you are the captain of your ship, you are the captain of your energy. You are having to direct where you want that energy to go. And you can't just mentally say, oh, I want it to go there. You've got to energetically align with where it's going. And that's what all of this work is up front, leading up to the eclipse, in the eclipse, and now post eclipse. Okay. Because this eclipse reset is actually the preparation for the next phase of your journey, which you well know. And if you're feeling pushed to focus on yourself, which I have shared with you, I have been, and I know many other people out there are, then you've got to listen to what that pulling is and do your best to never allow someone to come in and throw you off and get distracted because they're not listening or they're in a different phase of their life, okay? Because this is a great time to invest in your spiritual growth, invest in your energy alignment. And if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling not sure, then of what's going on in your energy, maybe you need to begin with understanding your energy centers, which are your chakras. Even if you know what chakras are, maybe you don't have the right frequency to help balance the chakras. Maybe you need to have someone, serve as a mirror to take you through that process of each one of your chakra systems so you can actually integrate what's going on in your energies. And if that resonates with you, then sign up for my Understanding Your Energy Centers course. Okay? Because that's going to help you make sense of your energy center. It's going to help through the shifts. It's going to help with your alignment because you're moving it through a third party. I'm the third party helping move that, giving you that reflection back just through you listening to my videos and watching me. Okay? It reflects back to you and it helps it move through, okay? Cuz you're connected in. So if you're interested in that, that's on my website, Shelby Carino. So it's ShelbyCarino.com. Click on courses, look at the second course, which is Understanding Your Energy Centers. Might be a good place for you to start, okay? Because it is the foundation to everything that we're going to continue to move through in this golden age of energy that we're in, okay? So the post-eclipse energy is here to help you close loops and to move forward. You need to trust what is leaving your energy and honor now what is shifting in your energy and take care of your body and your mind. All right? So that's it. I'm going to wrap it up because I'm over an hour, but I will be back next week with more cleansing of this March energy before we get into April. And I can't believe we're already almost at the end of March. It's crazy. But yeah, so stay tuned for next week. We're going to finish it all out, clear it all up, and head into April fresh and new because it will really be spring and we're going to spring forward into our next steps. Okay. So that's it. Have a good one and I'll be back next week.